The event. We will starting soon. Please bear with us few minutes. We will starting soon. Good afternoon. We are starting our session. Distinguished moderator, esteemed panelists, and all the participation. I am Rupesh from the Saudi. It's my great honor to welcome all of you on the day 3 of the 15th South Asia Economic Summit on Legion and Equitable Green Transformation in South Asia. The annual summit has become an important platform for bringing together stakeholders from across the South Asia to discuss and work together. I would like to welcome our esteemed panelists and moderator to the stage for our power session, Green and Sustainable Trade Facilitation in South Asia. The moderation session will be conducted by Dr. Samir Khariwada, Senior Economics, Asian Development Bank, Philippines. The panelists are Dr. Vaikunth Arya, former Chief Secretary, Government of Nepal. Please, sir, I would like to welcome you all on the stage. Dr. Pravi De, Professor Research and Information System for Developing Countries, RIS India. Mr. Ravi Shankar Saiju, Vice Chair and former Joint Secretary, Government of Nepal. Professor Muzaffir Rahman, Distinguished Fellow, Center for Policy Dialogue, CPD Bangladesh. Ms. Renchen Lazom, Chief Internal Trade Promotion and Facilitation Division, Department of the Trade, Ministry of the Industry, Commerce and Employment, Bhutan. Mr. Arif Kamal Seth, Head of Operation for the Cross-Border Trade, Central Asia, Dynamic Logistics International, Pakistan. Now I will hand over the session to the moderator, Dr. Khariwada.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. First of all, it's really nice that we have this session at the South Asia Economic Summit this year. A little bit about myself, and I will start our conversation this afternoon. My name is Samir Khariwada. I'm a senior economist at the Asian Development Bank, normally in Manila, Philippines, but lately I've been in Dhaka, Bangladesh. And you might wonder why am I moderating this session? There's a good reason, so I want to give a bit of a context. Besides being an economist, of course, but more it's to do with our work in the region. So ADB has been preparing program loans and project loans in the space of trade facilitation. So we've been doing this for the last 10 years in this region. For example, in Nepal, we started working with Customs, Department of Customs, about over 10 years ago. We have done a couple of big programs here on customs, and we have an ongoing program as well. Recently, I led a program in India on logistics, trade logistics. This has been ongoing for several years as well. Trade logistics, of course, is not just for trade, but also about national supply chains besides the global supply chains. So we've been doing that as well. So I've been sent to Bangladesh to actually prepare a logistics program in Bangladesh as well. So we are aiming for this program to be ready by 2026. Similarly, we are replicating these types of programs in Pakistan, in Uzbekistan, elsewhere in Central Asia, and also we have done a bit of this work in Indonesia as well. So this kind of gives you a context why ADB is so involved. First, ADB is very involved in this space, and the reason why that is the case is because, of course, first, starting point is trade is good, but then good trade facilitation is important for trade. So that's the basic idea is that. So today I have a very distinguished set of panelists with me. So what I will do is, instead of having a speech from here, I'll just sit over there and then I'll ask questions and I'll interrupt whenever I can. So try to keep it a bit more interactive. And then once we do a couple of rounds of questions with the panel, then we'll go to the audience. If that's okay with everyone, I'm going to go sit over there and I'll start my questions. Thank you. Okay, so I think I'm going to start first from the far left, because we have a colleague from Pakistan, and he actually works in logistics, in trade logistics. We were having a conversation the other day, and I told you about how ADB is working in Central West countries in logistics sector. I wanted to understand a bit more about how you've been involved in facilitating trade between Pakistan and Central West, and perhaps you can share some of the lessons for broader South Asia as well. Over to you.
Thank you. Hi everyone. My name is Arif Kamal Syed, and I'm working in private sector in a private company, Dynamic Logistics International. Pakistan trade network is expanding, particularly after COVID-19. And I just spoke to Mr. Owais Khan that Pakistan is doing TIR these days from Karachi and different cities of Pakistan to Central Asia and beyond, which is a significant achievement. Pakistan has transit trade agreements with Central Asia, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Afghanistan. As a head of operation for the last 17 years, I've changed, I have seen many changes in trade between Pakistan and South Asia with Afghanistan and Central Asia. If I give you an example of, like I said, TIR. Anyone know about TIR here? Only Owais Khan knows. It's a CMR Geneva Convention. TIR is a service in which you can, put a container on a vehicle, on a truck, which can go up to 5-6 countries who are TIR signatory. This time, only Pakistan is doing TIR because of the, geopolitical issues. I'm sure India is also TIR signatory, so it would have been, like you guys will be moving the truck right from Kathmandu through India, crossing Pakistan, Afghanistan, and going into Central Asia. And I'm just sharing my experience. I've recently done a shipment of pharmaceuticals from Karachi, Pakistan, to Baku, Azerbaijan. That truck crossed like 5 countries. And there is a sea, a Caspian Sea, if you heard the name. There is a seaport called Aktau Port. And there is a ferry service. To your second question regarding water links, which you asked me yesterday. So there is a ferry service. There are basically 2 rivers. I'm also adding that part of your question. One river that is connecting Afghanistan with Central Asia, with Uzbekistan, which is called Amur River. And there is a ferry service. Like you can put a container on a ferry and it will cross the water border inside Uzbekistan. And there is another example of Caspian Sea. There are 2 options. You can like put the container in a ferry, or even you can put the whole truck with the container, and that ferry will take that truck to the other side into Baku, Azerbaijan. I'm just giving you the example. There is also another connectivity which we have done very recently to Turkey, and it was successfully done. The benefit of this service is like, it is reducing the cost, the delivery time. We did delivery to Turkey in 21 days only. And the cost was like around about $8,000. So this is the recent experience I'm sharing with you all. Pakistan has great potential regarding connecting South Asia with Central Asia. But there is, geopolitical issues, there are challenges, there are security issues. CPEC is another project which Pakistan is doing with China, and it's going to be like, it can also connect South Asia, the whole South Asia, with China, with Central Asia. So it's also going to be a very good project in the near future.
Thank you so much. Listening to you about the TIR and how the trucks can move from Pakistan and across different borders into 5 countries, actually the reality for us is quite different, actually. So I'm gonna invite our former Chief Secretary, Dr. Boykunda Aryal, because in case of Nepal, even though we have made a lot of progress in the space of customs reform, as you know very well, that the challenges of trading across the border, just in India, right? And that what Arif mentioned is actually music to my ears. I wish that was the case for our trucks, right? So could you share a bit about our logistics challenges at the border?
Yeah, thank you, Samir, for the question. You are right that one of the major challenges for us is the logistics management for the trade and better trade over there. And of course, we don't have this border connectivity with so many countries, unlike Pakistan or India or any other countries, basically India and some China. And so. But still, there are problems. Logistics management is a bit of problem, and not only the logistics, the related infrastructures, be it the road infrastructure or any other kind of transport infrastructure or the custom infrastructures or whatever, transport management and all these things. These are the part of trade logistics, and these are somehow, I should say that they are not efficient, and so, not efficient as they ought to be, and so. And of course, even what we had, in the past, that until a few years ago, we didn't have the broad understanding on logistics, and we even didn't have a logistics policy. And now we have drafted the logistics policy, and now the government has also formulated it. But still, the full-fledged implementation of this policy is still not happening. And the people around, who are the stakeholders of the trade, they even don't understand what is logistics as well. That's not only with the problem with the government people, but also with the traders and so. That is one part. And even the logistics policy is over there, but the full-fledged implementation is yet to begin. When I was the chief secretary, and during my 1-year period, I once headed the steering committee meeting and then made a number of decisions, and Rabi was with me at that time, and we identified some of the issues, some of the actions that need to be taken care of and so. But still, I mean, the other governance mechanism over there, they are not active, and we were pushing over there, and the government should definitely they take care of these things over there. And another thing is, I mean, in the adoption of the technology, of course, we have some technology, and thank you, ADB and even the World Bank, that they supported us a lot. And with your support, we carried out custom modernization plan, and with the World Bank's support, we developed some of the infrastructure in the border as well as in the trading routes and so. But I mean, the capacity to carry on all those things is still, I mean, somehow dwindling. That's why the continue a kind of big push is needed over there. This capacity is not lacking with the government people, but also with the traders also, because they are the one who use the trade facilities, and they are the one who use the technologies that are associated with the trade and so. But with a lot of fanfare and so, we developed national single window. But still, I mean, the traders sometimes they escape to enter into that one. And our interagency coordination is also a problem over there. And once the, I mean, NSW was there, and I was very much hopeful there, because at that time when coordinating with the World Bank and when coordinating with the ADB and so, I was in the Ministry of Finance, and I put a lot of effort to make these projects success. But again, I mean, these things are not that much happening. The problem is, I mean, the technology itself is sometimes cumbersome, and the people associated with it, they don't want to go with that one, and status quo maintenance is the major problem. And the third one is, we also, I mean, in the government also, I am also responsible for that one. We are also, I mean, they're not that very much keen to enhance their capacity, own people's capacity, as well as the traders' capacity. So there are a combination of all these things. That's why the trade facilitation is not that strong in the country. I mean, the green trade facilitation, otherwise there are so many other facilitations are there. But my point here is, I mean, when you have the infrastructure, when you have the technology, then you have to be adapted with that. That is the thing. And as Pakistan's case, I also dream the same thing, that I mean, our trucks fly over all trading routes, not only in Nepal but also in the bordering countries.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ariel. One point I wanted to actually get before I go to Bangladesh, the adoption of new technology, infrastructure. What I've seen this in India, for example. When we talk about the logistics sector, today we're supposed to talk about greening of logistics, green trade facilitation. One aspect I have noticed in India is that the decarbonization of this sector in general is through technology adoption as well. I've seen this in customs, you know this very well. Can you share some experience from India in terms of what are the measures that have been taking place in some technology adoption? And one aspect that Dr. Ariel rightly mentioned is capacity. Because a lot of times what ends up happening is that you adopt new technology, but if you don't have the right skill set to even use that, then you don't go very far. And I think one example is the Asikuda, the new version of it is nice, but are we empowering our customs officials to use that and leverage that for better trade facilitation? Over to you, Dr. Day.
Okay. Thank you very much. My intervention before I start, I'd like to thank Swati and for the hospitality, for the invitation. And the initial introduction, I like to start by saying that the region, by and large was integrated geographically, is got disintegrated. And we are trying to do another integration. But at the moment in the region, if you hear very closely, a lot of deconstruction is happening. And we have an eminent persons, several of them who have seen all the phases in the last 8 years, like Professor Rehman Soban, who is sitting in the audience. One of the few, such dignitaries I have come across who have seen all of them. It's a pity that in the region that we live and the moment, anything you look for, a trade facilitation, transportation, connectivity, it's not there actually. It's there in my mind. But let me come back to answering to your questions, that what the Indian government is doing by and large, introducing sustainable and green trade facilitation. Primarily, I have said this in the latest issue of the Trade Insight of the Swati. I have written it the way I thought. But to answer to your two questions, India, if you look at India's commitment in the WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement, India's commitment into several other regional and sub-regional commitments, India is more or less, because of its technology, particularly the digitalization of the trade process, procedures, India is almost a champion. 99% in average is success rate. Okay, this is anything you do as I'm a champion. It's only kind of thing that you are doing until we don't talk each other and you make the person or the country falling behind to be a super champion. Then anything we do, it doesn't work actually. Because when you are talking about international trade, first of all, my principle is that I leave set aside my nationality. In the international trade, if you are become a nationalistic, then it doesn't work actually in the sense. So what we see then the government of India's policy is the current one. Indian government is aspiring to be a developed country by 2047. The way we are Indian going to celebrate 100th year. They came out with a vision, master plan on different segments of infrastructure, be it road, maritime, etc., etc. There is no point of repeating all those. The one which required to be added here, because it talks about the software aspects at the last mile, also beyond in the neighborhood. Let's call Gati Shakti. This is the master plan of Gati Shakti, and the third edition, which is launched a few months back, it talked about regionalization of Gati Shakti. But don't think that, it is India is coming and imposing something. No, it is not like that basically. So this is one. Second is India is also looking at EVs, biofuels, hydrogen oil fuels, many others, solar, non-conventional, putting into in the transportation, because trade is the highest emitter of, than the production itself in terms of CO2 emissions. So government's policy is to hit at the bottom, and that's what we see at the farm level, but we don't have much time to discuss on that. And greening the trade corridors. I close by giving some examples, answering to your questions. One is the customs single window. India's version is we call SWIFT. 99% of international trade transaction is through SWIFT. Anything which is coming with the bulk papers, no, you are not a trader, smart trader. So this is one way India is really successful. Second aspect is that India is also introducing, with the help of its digital technology, that if you are an importer, certificate of origin, if it is by Pakistan or Bangladesh or Nepal, Bhutan, anyone, earlier we used to submit in the bill of lading, the import bill. Mr. Rajan is also here, I believe, somewhere, please make me correct, because you are the correct person, handling that. India has allowed e-certification of COO, certificate of origin, online. Now, in the last budget, India said that please just self-certify. You don't have to go to the Chambers of Commerce or Association. So this is, I think, one way India has done quite well. Second is, it is not yet matched by any other trade partners. India's next plan is to extend this ECOO filing to all our FTA partners, including Nepal, and everyone in the South Asia. Second point, which are other arrangements like sanitary and phytosanitary certificate. We call it e-phyto. So India is also planning, had already done an experiment submitting. The one I'd like to also add here that CPTA United Nations Cross-Border Paperless Trade Agreement. We call it UN CPTA. Bangladesh is one of the countries who has signed it, but Bangladesh, because of its lack of capacity, they have signed it but not yet implementing. Then, there are a lot of gaps in it because I have seen it very closely. India is also considering to get into the CPTA because there are at the moment 17 countries who have ratified. So once, I see the large economy which is aspiring to be 1 trillion export by 2030, getting into a paperless trade environment, it has a very strong ripple effect in the neighborhood, also in the larger audience. Last, please look at the one, I don't know why Nepal has not yet come, or Bangladesh, Bhutan. India silently has signed mutual recognition agreement in the form of authorized economic operators, AEOs. Silently on 16 countries, including China, Russia, America. I can go on adding the name of the countries India signed MRAs. Authorized economic operators means that your customs and my customs, they talk in the same language. I'm not going to tell import from your country to open the container. I would like to see is there is an arm or there is in goods, That kind of understanding. We call it authorized economic operators between the countries Korea, Taiwan, USA, UAE, Australia, and Russia. And joint action plan on AEO signed with Singapore, Bahrain, New Zealand, UK, Belarus, and on the BRICS. There are negotiations going on with many countries, but I don't see in the list, none of them from South Asia or the Bay of Bengal. Very strange reasons. It has to be, Rajanji will be able to tell us why. So these are basically India's intervention in the name of technology and the greening and sustainable trade facilitation. Last but not the least, which I think, I need to close by saying that Professor Rehman Sobon, Professor Rehmatullah, who left us, Professor Rehmatullah I'm talking about, they had a dream to connect, entire Asia in a sense. Asian highway, trans-Asian railway, Asian dry ports, those are ESCAP, vision. But they went further, integrating the South Asia through different outlets. I think hard infrastructure is equally important because hard infrastructure will give us an opportunity to intervene if there are highest, if there is any kind of intervention required in terms of greening and sustainable infrastructure. If we are not connected at the border, if we are disconnected, our soft infrastructure will remain as a national part of it. So linking each other through hard and soft are both very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think one aspect in customs, one thing that I've noticed in India, which you know better, is where the officials at customs are also better equipped, better skilled. There's efforts to train them in new systems. That's what I've noticed as well. But your point, just to pick up on what you said earlier in terms of India's recent efforts, but South Asia is nowhere in the picture. There are other countries, and I think that kind of it tells a lot about trade within our region, right? The reason why our inter-regional trade is such a small fraction, I think has a lot to do with that. I think I'm going to go to Professor Rahman about Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, recently we've been preparing some background work on logistics development, and World Bank did a really nice study. You must have seen it on logistics. And one of the challenges in Bangladesh is on institutional arrangements, right? So before, in the old regime, the Prime Minister's office was very keen on logistics, but now, as we all know, because of changes, that's no longer the case. So in the new administration, we haven't really found a champion, so to speak. Of course, everybody's interested. They realize the importance of logistics for trade facilitation, but there is no sort of institutional arrangement like there is in India, for example. So can you shed light a bit on this? What is the government doing in terms of setting up the...
Thank you, Samir. I think this is a very important issue because we have to recognize that if we have good logistics, it's also good business, and it makes competitiveness more deeper in terms of both regional trade and also getting into the global trading system. But let me also make a distinction between the just trade facilitation and green and sustainable trade facilitation. And let me make the comment that, that there is in WTO trade facilitation agreement, and under that we are trying to do the compliance, and what you have just mentioned, logistics policy is also a part of that, particularly because Bangladesh, Nepal will be graduating in 2026. Bhutan has just graduated in December 2023. So they have come into another regime, where there will have to be a lot of compliance in terms of the WTO trade facilitation agreement. So from that perspective, it is becoming a compelling issue. It's not a choice anymore, as it was when we were, just in the group of LDCs. So it's very important that we have not only the policies, but also institutions which own the policies and implement those. But this is WTO plus. When we call about, when we talk about green and sustainable trade facilitation, it is WTO plus. And whether this type of requirements become weaponized as protectionist regime, that is also one issue that I would like to put before us, because all these green and sustainable trade facilities also require a lot of investment. Implementing the logistics policy in Bangladesh also a lot of investment, and if you want to green it, then more investment, okay? But it is required. Okay? So I think that one way of looking at it will be to also look at COP negotiations. We are talking about financing. So I think greening of trade facilitation is also one of the areas where we can bring the green financing discourse in play. The second point is, for example, we are also part of the BBIN MVA, as you know. And when we talk about logistics, we'll also have to talk in terms of regional integration of transport connectivities. So, or cross-border. For example, 90% of our imports, $14 billion, it comes through land borders. So, paperless trade, digitalization of trade, single window will require interoperability of the systems. Okay, so these type of interventions will require a lot of investment also. So I would like to also mention that if as a region we can participate in this discourse, then obviously the financing part of it will be helped. So this is one area which I think. The second is, for example, a number of times the issue of Bangladesh's import of energy from Nepal was mentioned, okay? So it's just not import of or export of services, but how do you do it in an environmentally friendly manner? For example, if we would have imported this 40 megawatt from Nepal, and we would have to build, transmission and evacuation systems, then there would have been also a lot of carbon emission in the process of import and export, isn't it? But now we are getting into the Indian sub-regional grid, which is helping us to get the 40 megawatts. So it's keeping the prices low. It is also environment friendly. So we will have to find out not only just trade facilitation, but trade facilitation activities which are environment friendly, okay? So, and Probir, for example, mentioned about mutual recognition agreements. I think these are the ways which can reduce the cost, reduce also the carbon emission type of things, and also comply with the requirements which are coming. I'm not questioning the veracity of the greening of the trade facilitation, because it is becoming a new normal. Yeah? If you want to go access European market under GSP plus, you will have to have this CABM requirements. So this is becoming new normal. But this should not be a stumbling block in terms of market access. That's the point I'm making. So in that context, obviously, you have rightly mentioned about the logistics policy, but I think global support and regional cooperation in terms of accessing those in an environmental friendly manner also becomes very important.
Thank you so much for, you mentioned a very important point about the, so trade facilitation already was difficult. So now green trade facilitation might be even a bigger challenge, right? We were talking about this even yesterday when we were talking about trade in green goods and services. I'm going to go to our colleague from Bhutan, Ms. Lazom, who is the Chief of Internal Trade Promotion and Facilitation Division at the Department of Trade, Ministry and Industry and Commerce. Actually, ADB also has an ongoing effort. You probably know this. We are working with colleagues in Bhutan. Another colleague of mine works in Bhutan. So one question I have for you is, of course, yesterday I think it was a colleague from Bhutan who talked about the, trading is already very difficult for a landlocked country like Bhutan. So when we talk about greening measures, maybe there'll be another way of creating a non-tariff barrier, right? So it's a real possibility for many countries. So can you really elaborate a bit on what role that multilateral organizations can play in working with countries like Bhutan, and also the infrastructure gaps and you have in Bhutan? Over to you.
Thank you very much. Namaste, good afternoon, and Kuzangpula, distinguished panelists, esteemed participants. As the moderator has already introduced me, I don't need further. I think it's very important that the esteemed panelists have already mentioned this lot of constraints that we as a LDC or a developing country is facing with regard to limitation, not only in terms of technology or resources, but also in terms of the cooperation ourselves within or among ourselves and the commitments. For me, I would like to begin with a positive, proverb or saying that where there is a will, there is a way. So together we can actually find solutions and ways to deal with or address these challenges that we are facing currently. Addressing the infrastructure and the investment gaps, we need a lot of multiple stakeholders, collaborations within and outside the country, and I think the public-private partnerships is very important, and also the initiative to go digital is one way forward to address these challenges. And if I may cite an example, Bhutan has actually initiated a very successful project called Digital Dugyo Flagship Project, whereby the internet and mobile connectivity has been expanded to the rural areas, and many peoples that made the lives of women also easier in terms of accessing the global market and within the country itself. Again, the Bhutan integrated taxation systems has also significantly streamlined the taxation procedures and improved the efficiency in terms of good clearance at the entry and exit port. That's another way, and we have also engaged a lot of private sector in a small-scale manner. For instance, in the telecom sector, the Tashi Cell and Bhutan Telecom have penetrated with mobile. That actually is setting the ground ready for digital trade or e-commerce in the country. Again, in terms of the integration of advanced technical infrastructures, I think the automation in the customs, not only from the soft system, but also the infrastructure in terms of the regional cooperation having harmonized system, the standards, having AI tools adopted to see or detect any risks, consignments that would actually improve the efficiency in the clearance of the consignments, are areas where we can actually improve and bridge the gaps that we are currently facing. Now, coming to the first question, which is with regard to the role of multilateral organization, I think there's much more the multilateral organization could do in terms of advancing these initiatives, especially green sustainable trade. Not saying that you have not done it. I think we are very much acknowledging the support that has been granted, but there are many other opportunities in terms of coming up with a regional framework like what ASEAN UNCFTA has done, a harmonized system for cross-border trade. One area could be maybe a fund that you could have for the region, South Asian region, to support the initiatives. And also, I thought the multimodal transport system could be another area where air, road, and then I see the future in inland water. While in Nepal and in Bhutan may at this moment think that it's not related, but I personally feel that Bhutan and Nepal could actually take advantage of this, inland waterways transport system and make our logistics costs very efficient and competitive in the market. I think my time is up, and I'll leave this and maybe get later if there's any other. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll come back to you on this, but thank you for raising this point about multimodal transport system and the role of inland waterways. Actually, when we talk about decarbonization, shifting towards other modes of transport, especially inland waterways, railways will be very important. And when you look at even in a big country like India, when you look at the freight movement, and I think Rajanji is in the audience, you would know this better, but 6% of cargo moves by road, about 30-something moves by rail, and with the ship, it's very small, 3%. The fraction is very small, right? So I think we could do more in that space. I completely agree with you. Leveraging inland waterways would be a good way to green this sector to begin with. I'm going to now come to Raviji, who has been working in this space in Nepal for a long time. He retired as Joint Secretary from our government. Raviji, so I wanted to ask you, I know you've been working in the region, in Bangladesh, also in other parts of South Asia. How do you see in terms of, how can we develop a regional strategy to promote, first, multimodal transport? I think that is more, a sovereign's job in the country, specific efforts is important, but in terms of having a regional strategy for greening trade facilitation, promoting a green and sustainable trade facilitation, how do you see this? Over to you.
Thank you. Definitely a lot of initiation is going on from the regional part of Hawaii, just like Monsur has already highlighted the BBIN issues also. BBIN, actually the agreement we signed in 2015, still we are working on its protocol part. A lot of, in the protocol, if you go through the protocol, you can find out a lot of issues has been addressed in that part. There are some confusion also, but it can be solved, no problem on that part. So what I see that, definitely the connectivity among the South Asian countries is very crucial. We have to do a lot for the greening it, isn't it, from the point of view of more sustainable part. Just I want to highlight here, just like for the seamless movement and even for the decarbonization, we should more focus on, the electronic vehicle part also, whether it is possible or not. But Nepal is, requesting Government of India to develop the electrified rail in all the part, just like in the Birgaz, there is no electric line. Even in the Biratnagar also there is no electric line, and they have requested the electric line over there. That is one part. And recently, then one study is also going on, ADB is doing, regarding the railway line from Bangladesh to Kathmandu and Nepal also. The study has not completed, I think, within 2-3 months it will be completed. That is also focusing on the electrified line. That is another part. And other part is for the seamless movement. I mean, in the BBIN, definitely the tracking system is mandatory in the BBIN person. And in the Nepal's India side, in the Nepal, India, we are also using this electronic cargo tracking system, the railway system. And it has substantially reduced the paper requirement. Previously, we have to submit all the, paper document in the gateway port. Now it has been reduced to from 6 to 2, and only 2 documents that has to be uploaded in the website, not in the paper. That is also another issue, development. But it has to be, used in other areas, just like in road also. In road transport, it has not been used till now. And Government of Nepal has requested Government of India to materialize it. There are some issues raised by the our freight forwarders and transporters also regarding the, because the only one operator is using this, giving service to the ECTS, using ECTS Nepal. They want to have a multiple one so that there should be competitions. But so far I know, when Vaikuntha sir was Commerce Secretary, we had a meeting in the Delhi with the CBIC chair at that time. If you remember Vaikuntha sir, at that time they are ready to open it for a multiple operators, isn't it? But it should be used in all the way, and not only in the transit cargo, but in the bilateral cargo also. That is one point. Another point also I want to add here. During the several meetings with the CBIC and even with the Ministry of Commerce in India, when after utilizing this ECTS in the initial phase, they were also, agree, they said that if we materialize it on a mandatory way in the all transit and even in the bilateral cargo, they are ready to open up all the routes for Nepal. Because if you go through the transit treaty and trade treaty of India now with the Nepal, you can see they have mentioned all the routes from Calcutta to here. But they want to release all these things because after having used ECTS in the containerized cargo in the truck and railway, they are ready to open it because they can track from the tracking system. That is the things. So a lot of issues are there. Even we can do, but still the BBN is not going fast. We have to get it materialized, isn't it? Then we can get benefit from all these things. Thank you.
Thank you. For those of us who do not know what ECTS stands for, it's Electronic Cargo Trading System, Tracking System. So let me go back to Dr. Pravir Dey in India. So you heard from Raviji there. He talked a lot about ongoing efforts with India. I've been to actually the Birganj customs. I've been to different customs offices here. We have an ongoing program where we're trying to promote paperless customs, right? And also risk management system as well, because a lot of times actually still many of the goods are examined. Okay. Sure.
What I find very disturbing is that this conversation has been going on since 2008, at least in the SAIS meetings, about the various ways in which you can then sort of facilitate the process. As far as facilitation issues are going on, it has been going on since the 1980s and the 1990s. And various exercises have been done. I'm sure if you are working in ADB, your ancestors over there will have laid out quite a lot of work done on this particular area. Now, point I wish to make is that the bottom line is not what marginal progress you have made in various forms of trade facilitation. The question is why in 2024 we are still having this conversation. Our friend from Pakistan has told us that presumably in the post-Afghanistan situation, he is now in a position to carry goods in an uninterrupted way all the way into Central Asia and even into Turkey. Now here we are sitting in South Asia, and you cannot load a truck in Kolkata and deliver goods to Dhaka, even though India is exporting $20 billion worth of goods to Bangladesh. It has to be offloaded at the border and then reloaded over here and then carried to Bangladesh. The Nepal-Bangladesh connection of smooth transit coming through is still a conversation in progress. Every time 5 inches of progress have been registered. But the question once again of goods coming straight from Nepal and not having to be offloaded at the border and coming here. I remember discussing in the 1990s the proposition that Nepal and Bhutan should not be regarded as any longer as landlocked countries because their natural ports should be Chittagong and Mongla, and that they should be able to use the ports of Chittagong and Mongla in the same way that Bangladeshis use it, in the same way that Hungarians use the ports of Marseille and Rotterdam. But this is a conversation of the 1980s. And what the hell are we doing talking about this in 2024 and still talking about? So the question which you should be examining and discussing today is why, for God's sake, have we not made this progress? What is the problem? Is not the software. The problem is why the hardware interruptions have not been completed. Why then the human software has not really been put in place. So who is responsible? Is it software, is it hardware, or is it human beings, or is it the security agencies? I wish to have an intelligent and research presentation made in the next meeting of SAIS, which will in fact actually tell us and explain to us what is the problem. I can guarantee you that by the time the next SAIS meeting takes place in Islamabad, we will not have progressed 1 inch, and nothing will be coming from Bhutan. All those fruits and everything else which come over there, which would be coming in container trucks very smoothly straight to the markets in Dhaka. And our fertilizer should be going to Kathmandu, again in container trucks without interruption, and billions of dollars of goods should be coming here. Nothing will have happened, but not certainly by... So unless we have a satisfactory answer, I see this as a completely fruitless sort of conversation which is going on. Sorry.
Thank you for that, but the thing is, so look, I agree with you completely, 100%, Professor Rahman, but my question to all of you, right, so the thing is, I think you've hit the nail, but we have to work with the situation that we are in, geopolitical, whatever it is. So the reality is what it is, because still to this day, I can tell you, 66% of cargo moves by truck, and you know the roads in Nepal. You know the roads in India, right? This is one reality. The other reality is 2/3 of goods at our border get stopped and checked physically. Whose job is it to not check them physically? Why can we not use risk management system? Why can we not use all the new systems we have available? We say it on paper that we are using them, but we're not using them. No, I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't have the answer. I wish I had the answer. I don't have the answer. All I'm telling you is this. So the thing is, we have to work with the reality on the ground. Professor, look, with all due respect, what you are saying, I agree 1,000%. There's no disagreement there. But what I'm trying to get at from this gentleman and lady over there is that given the current situation, what can we do better? Right? I wish there was no conflict between Pakistan and India. I wish there was no disagreement between Bangladesh and India, but that's above my pay grade. I cannot get into that. What I can get into is the marginal changes we can make to facilitate trade in our region. And I think we can do that. We can do that if we adopt these systems that we have announced, we have signed, we have signed treaties, we have signed agreements, BBIN, great initiative on paper. Is it going anywhere? Well, I think the honest answer is somewhere else. There's a colleague in the back who knows where this is going. So anyway, look, I'm going to carry on the conversation. We can have that type of conversation maybe over coffee or drink, but let's just carry on with what we can do given the reality we have on the ground. So let me go back to our former chief secretary. With that, now you have heard gentlemen in the audience. So maybe we can have a slightly more honest conversation about the challenges. But in our case, I think, to be honest with you, as a Nepali, I have not lived here for many years, but our challenge is very fundamental. Infrastructure, lack of adoption of technology, lack of capacity. These are basic challenges. So again, I'm going to go back to Chief Secretary. Can you tell us, in terms of trade facilitation, what is the biggest challenge for Nepal for trade?
Thank you, Samir. And thank you, Professor Rahman. You just picked a very, very sensitive and very good, pertinent issue over there. The same thing that we have in our mind also. Why it is not happening? Because we are in South Asia, and everyone wish, our trade goes uninterrupted everywhere and so. But this is not happening. This is the reality. And there are so many hurdles, so many obstacles. And when I was the Commerce Secretary some 3 years back, I also tried a lot, to get things done, like the BBIN. Why not is moving? What are the problems and what? But when you talk about trade, and it's not in the purview of one single country only. It's the purview of all other trading partners, the trade-related countries and so. So, there are many issues. The one issue that Pravir mentioned, I was advocating for this mutual recognition agreement since long. I don't know why it's not happening in South Asia, but when India has already signed with so many countries in the world, not only in Asia, but also in the global part also. I was also always thinking that, when my accreditation agency accredited something, then why not India? Indian accredited agency, they accredits or honors that one and recognize that one. And why it's not happening and so. So, I had that point for the second question also. But anyway, those are the things that are not happening. And when we talk about this inland waterways and so, and we put it in the transit treaty with India in the recent amendment. But there are a lot of other hurdles, like in the infrastructure and probably the careers and everything over there. And another one thing is we also agreed the agreement with India, this railway service agreement, and our railway, our own Nepali railway, if we want to ply on the Indian rail tracks, that can happen now. Not only, we don't need to depend on the Indian train, the railway services and so. So these are the things that are happening in the paper, of course, but in having in the paper and doing in the practice is a bit different, and there are a lot of other hurdles too. As I said, one is probably the mutual recognition of each other. And then another one is as Rahman also said, and some other colleagues also said, why not this Mongla port and why not other issues and so. There are so many other things. One is probably lack of skills to convince each other, probably, because It seems so because we tried a lot. I mean, when I was the secretary and when I was the chief secretary also, we tried a lot. And Ravi was with me for many years, and we tried together also, but this is not happening. And technology creates some kind of room over there. Technology creates some, I mean, the familiarization thing also. But acknowledging others' technology is also important. Right. When you have the software, what we did not do, they constructed ICPs along the borders. So when I heard about ICP and we talked about this is the mirror effects of one customs to another customs. So you don't need to, do many things over there. Once it passes through one custom, then it's free. That's the thing. So technology adoption is there, and then honoring my technology by another country, honoring other technology by myself is very key. And that is the one issue. And for that one, you have to have the skills. For that one, you have to have the capacity. And for that one, you have to have the 24/7 uninterrupted type of services. That's what over there. So we should be committed for all these things. Right. Otherwise, the trade facilitation remain in the paper, but not in the practice.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. So again, I want to emphasize that I wish for a revolution when it comes to trade in our region, but that has not happened. So I'm going to focus on what changes we can make. So I'm going to go over to Professor Rahman. I know Bangladesh, with the LDC graduation in the next couple of years, in 2026, this is something that, of course, we are talking about trade in the region, but also trade outside the region is also very important for the long-term development and prosperity of the country. So can you reflect a bit on, you heard Professor Rahman there, can you reflect a bit on why things have not happened? Because this debate we've been having for the last 20 years.
Yeah, thank you. It's difficult for me to contest Sir, but I would like to respond. I think the audience here knows that Sir was a member of the group of eminent persons which was set up in 1999. And the vision that they gave us that by 2020, we will have a preferential trading arrangement, free trade arrangement, customs union, common market, and an economic union in the South Asia. Sir, why didn't it happen? That's the question, sir. We also have. Is the political economy, sir? The last SAARC summit that we had is almost a decade back. So at the end of the day, the answer to your question, you know it very well, sir, is the political economy and lack of trust. We are talking about the BBIN MVA. It started with SAARC motor vehicle agreement. And when the question was put that if a truck is coming from Lahore to Dhaka and there is an accident in Delhi, which court will decide where the complaint will be lodged? Will it be in Pakistan court or will it be in Indian court? Will there be harassment? So these type of things came up at the very last moment. And then we didn't have the SAARC motor vehicle agreement. We had only the BBIN motor vehicle agreement minus Pakistan. So I think that it's the political economy which is very important. But moderator, you have said very rightly, I think, that what we can do, not being hostage to this political economy, and as sir very rightly mentioned, one of the key elements of this political economy is so-called security concern. When we were talking about, the connectivity through Bangladesh to Northeast, the question was asked whether there will be arms going to the Northeast from Western India or the soldiers will be going there. So, but there are solutions to this. You can track and trace. You can have computerized, wagons which can detect whether there is arms going or soldiers going. So I think that there are solutions, logistic solutions within our country and cross-border. The challenge for us is how can we make it interoperable? Till now, I see that it is very country-specific. So you mentioned about ASICODA ++ and the new ASICODA, but these will have to be interoperable if we want to have intra-regional trade. But these are cost-reducing, cost-effective. So these increases, enhances our competitiveness also. So I think that's the second best solutions we are trying to find out without being hostage to the political economy in the region, sir. That's the challenge before our generation, perhaps, sir. I don't know whether we will see, the sort of vision that you have articulated in 1999, whether we'll see it in our life. But we have to go for perhaps second best and third best solution in absence of the first best solution. And the better should not be the enemy of the best.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for emphasizing that. As a student of Danny Roderick, Danny Roderick always says, you have to go for either second or third best solutions. And I think in this case, it might be even fourth. It might be very small. It might be making a very small impact. But nonetheless, if it's making an impact, I think we can live with that. But anyway, let me go to Bhutan, and then I'll go to Pakistan. For countries like Nepal and Bhutan, if there was, what Arif mentioned earlier, trucks could move from Bhutan all the way to Pakistan or to Dhaka or to come to Kathmandu, seamlessly. It would be the ideal world, right, for traders and, exporters in our countries. They would benefit enormously. Right, so what do you think? I mean, let's get at the heart of what do you think is the challenge? Besides being landlocked, what is the main hurdle? Leaving aside the geopolitical issue, of course, yeah.
Thank you very much. Am I audible? Yeah. I think the key issue is, the gentleman from the audience have also raised why we have not actually achieved the goal that we have set decades ago. It's basically, I would say, three main things apart from the geopolitics is the regulatory bottlenecks that each country has had adopted in the past and have the difficulty in making the necessary changes to make the ground reality, to situation where we would like to see. The second thing is in terms of the enforcement and clarity, even if we have these regulations or institutional regulatory in place, but the enforcement agencies and people are different on the ground, and it's not translated when it is being enforced in the exit and entry. That is another one. And then all boils down to the capacity again. Did we have the proper training, the transmissions of these agreements that has been reached amongst the countries? So these are the major three bottlenecks I would like to highlight. And then in terms of achievement, if I have time, I would highlight three things. We have come a far way, I would say. Evidence from the volume of trade that is taking place amongst our own South Asian countries is one evident. The turnaround time has drastically improved of adoptions of these AIs and digital. So also in terms of the products and services diversifications, if we compare decades ago and now, we have moved a long way in terms of product diversifications, both in services as well as in goods. So these are evidence of how we have progressed over the years. And then way forward, another three things that I would like to highlight here is adoption of technology is really key to success. We need to also explore the alternate market as well as the ways and means we do in terms of logistics that I have highlighted earlier, the multimodal rail and as well as the inland waterways. And finally, I would like to say that it's very important to have a harmonious standards, be it an agreement, mutual agreement among our countries, or having a standard, that is acceptable so that the traffic does not get holed up in the borders for a longer period of time. And then last not the least, the most important thing is the expansion of the infrastructure that is required to carry on the capacity that we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. When I looked at the time release study, if you look at some of the findings, recent ones, you do see that there has been a tremendous improvement actually in the border. So anyway, thank you for highlighting that. Arif, I wanted to come back to you. Yesterday we briefly talked about, there is trade happening between India and Pakistan, but through Dubai, right? So that has become the, Dubai has been your mode or whatever you call it. So can you elaborate a bit on that, the trade between India and Pakistan?
Thank you. Actually, there is no direct cross-border trade between Pakistan and India due to many reasons. And as you said yesterday, right now I have 5 boxes coming from Nhava Sheva, which will be rerouting, touching Dubai, and then will go to Karachi. So this is very unfortunate. Like Sir Rahman said that, and you also correctly replied that there are political issues, and actually India, I'm especially taking example of India and Bangladesh. As I'm working for Central Asia and Afghanistan, particularly for Central Asia and Uzbekistan, there are many traders from India and from Bangladesh who are working with Uzbek traders. And, but like I said, shipments are rerouting, coming via Dubai through Karachi port. But there is no direct cross-border trade, even with India and also Bangladesh. So, and also the regional trade, SAFTA, I think, between the SAARC countries, that is also not functional. And the only reason is geopolitical tension. So, this is my point.
So, Dr. Day, back to you. I know you've been working a lot in the area of customs and some of the efforts at decarbonization in this sector. But the broader question that was raised earlier in terms of why the interregional trade within our region in South Asia hasn't picked up as we had expected, and we keep having the same conversation. What's your take on that?
This is a very old question. And the audience are very well informed. I have hardly anything to add. Pradeep Mehta ji has a better answer.
And we have had perfectly good relationships with Nepal and Bhutan. So the question is, for example, in the motor vehicle agreement, you were talking about this being signed in 2015. Now, why amongst countries who are in a very harmonious relationship has this not become operational? That is the question. This is not a question of the second best. This is a question of why we are not realizing the fourth best solution amongst countries with having excellent relationships with each other. Unless you can diagnose this and have an answer, you will not be able to move forward.
Okay. I mean, thank you, sir, for provoking our minds. Because of the time limitation, answering to your first questions and coming back to sir's, his intervention. Interregional trade, South Asia has remained 6%, and we all know the answer, but it has always been affected by the geopolitics. If you leave aside the geopolitics, there is no South Asia. So South Asia love to live with that, and we have a history, baggage of history. One quick answer is our production is not connected. We don't share each other goods and services. There are restrictions, there are barriers. We don't acknowledge the degrees and diplomas. We don't recognize each other's, and so many things. These are very set case for excellent PhD thesis for any type of universities in South Asia and also in abroad, So solution to it, we really do not know, but there is no harm putting some step forward, As I have seen it, working closely with, several, senior dignitaries, those who are also here, in the audience, former Commerce Secretary of Nepal, that the large country like India has an additional responsibility always. The big brother, if you call them, or a benign brother, he has to move a couple of steps first, then other will follow. This is the past, and I have seen it. The relationship in the South Asian 8 countries, or presently, the Bay of Bengal countries, looks like a stock market curve, ups and downs, ups and downs. And for the last 70, 80 years, it's like that. Well, in the process, if we see that a common progress among all the countries, I see one is the digitalization part. Everyone, the 7, 8 countries have done quite phenomenally. Pakistan is a great example that it has done almost about 80% of its commitment in terms of digitalization of trade facilitation. Pakistan is a case which is introduced much before many others, custom single window. There are a lot of things to learn from each other. So digitalization, making the trade more green, sustainable, I see some progress. Now, as I said in my opening remarks, that where we need to intervene, what Professor Sebon said, that in the BBIN, where there are no political, or much political disputes or things, motor vehicle agreement, there is Bhutan, already left it. So 3 countries, they can easily start. But what I heard through the, the negotiators, that the negotiated motor vehicle agreement and its protocols need to be renegotiated. And if we don't do the renegotiation for the goods side, at least start with the passenger, because our routes are identified. So this is some progress I have seen. Last, on the border, where India, Bangladesh are working very closely, the border infrastructure. For your information, our border posts have been converted into an integrated check post, ICP in short. And out of the 16 ICPs, 8 ICPs have been made green, by the way. And we can go on debate in the tea and coffee break time, which are those. Out of the 16 ICPs, several of them are putting the gender issue in the front. So some progress has been done. India, Bangladesh is a great example, working in the border, on the border post coordination, Bangladesh Land Port Authority, India's Land Port Authority of India. And I'm sure, Nepal, I know that BBIN context, Nepal is coming up, so also Bhutan. I see greater amount of coordination is required. Plus the one 2025. Bhutan is getting ready with their custom single window. India has already done. Nepal is progressing well. Bangladesh is getting ready. So there has been discussion going on. If the 4 countries, they have custom single window to go each other. So instead of doing, it is a high time to do what Professor Mustafizur is saying, interoperability, at least in the BBIN context, because both 4 customs, it is now done digitally. So I think. So this is the hope, Next South Asia Economic Summit, I'm going to discuss all those things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ray. So I'll give since on BBIN, Raviji, you've also been working on this. 2 minutes on BBIN, and then we open the floor. I think we have to take more questions from the floor. I'm sure people will ask about this as well. So over to you. Well, why hasn't it, so how can we make it work? So why hasn't it worked? That's the main question.
No, actually, technological solution is there. Definitely, we agreed on that part. All the problem solutions are there. And even harmonization on the procedure and even the some rules and regulation is necessary. That is also necessary. But beside that, harmonization in the thinking and mindset of the decision maker among these countries are also necessary, I think so, because we have seen, same thing, same regulation, they interpret in a different way. That has also created, I have seen that when I was in the Ministry of Commerce at that time. That is one thing. Definitely in the BBIN part, the passenger protocol was well ahead, that was almost finalized, concluded. There is no problem on that part. But still, the cargo protocol is still going on, negotiation is going on. There are some issues, no doubt on that part, but that can be solved. But presently what the countries had agreed to piloted it for at least 1 year. Actually, Nepal proposed that part and for piloting it for at least 6 to 1 year, because if there is some gaps arises during the implementation of the protocol, then that could be amended again and make it full-fledged operation. That is the one part that we can do. So definitely, BBIN could give some solution for the seamless movement, because we have seen the seamless movement of this consignment is going on very well in the East Asian countries and even in the European countries. Why not in South Asian countries? We have a lot of inter-regional trade we can do. Besides, due to the lack of all these things, we are paying a much cost on that part. If you go through the costing part, I just want to highlight the Nepal-Bangladesh cost. One of the studies done by World Bank and this is UNISCAP. You can find out in the UNISCAP's website that the inter-regional trade cost, beside the customs, between Bangladesh and China is 170%. But if you focus on only agricultural goods, it's around 730%. It's very high. But with India, we have only 95% for the overall cost. But agricultural cost is around 150, I think. So that is the scenario that we have. Bangladesh is not far, but we are paying that much cost. There are a lot of issues are there that I'm just telling. We need to have the harmonize the rules and regulations that we have, and harmonization of the thinking among the people. Because I want to just highlight one issue over here. Yes, we are facing a lot of problems even with the Bangladesh trade going through the Fulbari. A lot of issues are there in the Fulbari border and even the Bangladesh. We are providing on-arrival visa for Bangladesh in our Kakarbita, but Bangladesh is not providing that kind of facilities for Nepalese people in Bangladesh. We are requesting Bangladesh from the very beginning. When I was there, I won several meetings, I raised these issues, but that was not solved. That is one part. Another part is actually what's happened. Going through this from Kakarbita to Bangladesh, that the provision is mentioned in the transit treaty between India and China, India and Nepal. That has been mentioned over there. And that was very old. In the previous transit treaty was also there. That has been mentioned, same thing in the recent transit treaty also. And the same thing copied, regarding the weight restriction. And that was moving very well. The infrastructure has been developed, very good infrastructure now we have. And easily the high loaded consignment was also coming from Bangladesh. Recently, last year, what's happened? One of the custom official changed from Indian custom official who came in the Fulbari. He went through the old treaty, isn't it? Old, and he restricted the weight restriction up to the 10 ton, and that hindered our trade between India and Nepal and Bangladesh. These things happens. That's why I'm saying mindset need to be changed. Thank you.
Thank you, Raviji. So, the thing is, to answer your question, I think what I'm hearing is that it's very simple. Actually, it's about capacity. It's about, capacity of public sector. Even in our case in Nepal, the civil servants change so often that once they have learned something about, our rules and regulations, they're gone to different ministry, different department. That's sort of a basic problem that we have. But anyway, on that happy note, let's open the panel to the floor and we take some questions. We'll start from here. We have a mic there.
Thank you, moderator and all panelists, for your nice, insightful presentation. My name is Purushottam Moza. Of course, Professor Rahman Shoban has rightly pointed out that the whole things in our region is not moving. What I see that it is moving at a very slow pace. What I see is that the regional arrangement of SAFTA or SARC and the BIMSTEC, it is almost stalled. And the BBIN is also moving at a very slow pace. Some progress has been made on bilateral basis, as Raviji has also pointed out that we have had some arrangement made with the neighboring country India in respect of the rail service agreement, amendment in the rail service agreement, transit agreement and all these things. So, Mustafizur Rahman, you have rightly pointed out about the additional burden that we have to bear on account of the greening trade facilitation. Of course, we have not been able to pursue the arrangement made in WTO trade facilitation agreement, but greening it will add additional burden to the countries. So I think, do you think that, question to Mustafizur Rahman, do you think that we need to address the things and we need to approach to WTO for rewriting or revisiting the provisions of the WTO trade facilitation agreement on a greening context? That is a question to you. And second, my question is to Arif. You have pointed out about the application of TIR convention on movement of goods from Pakistan to Central Asian countries. Actually, Pakistan, our neighboring countries, India and Bangladesh, they are all members of TIR convention, but we are not. And just I am interested to know what sort of movement do you foresee in moving containers from the seaport to the hinterland under the TIR convention rather than from our conventional methods? I mean the security guarantee, and if the goods are lost or pilfered on the way, how do you recover it? What sort of security arrangement is made? That is your questions. And of course, the third, it is Pravirdi, you have pointed out that the customs automations and the digitization, it has been done domestically in Nepal, in India as well as in Bangladesh, but we have not been able to connect to each other. And the things has come up that it is all due to this political economy, but Professor Rahman Shoban has rightly pointed out that we have very harmonious relationship. Still we don't have the things moving. So I think what sort of things, what I think that India is the biggest neighbor and having common border with all three countries, I mean Bhutan, Bangladesh and Nepal, I think India should take the lead in having this implementation of the trade facilitation arrangement among our countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe we take a couple more from the audience. Anybody else has a question?
Thank you, Samirji. I have one question to Dr. Pravir Dey. Well, speed, efficiency, and transparency. These are the key components of trade facilitation. And you talked about Gati Shakti, infrastructure development, digitalizations. I mean, all these factors contribute to basically speed and efficiency. But transparency is needed to establish accountability of the government officials or maybe private sector. So here my question is, what are the initiatives government of India has taken to ensure transparency in trade facilitation?
Thank you so much. Poshim, Rajanji, you have a question? Yeah, this is a topic of your interest. On BBIN, I know you wrote an article a while back, so maybe you can share your thoughts on BBIN.
Thank you very much. I I'm Rajan Sharma, a logistics service provider and a short-term consultant at the World Bank under trade and transport. See, logistics is a very big issue, and then it is not only confined within the country, but it is beyond countries and, you know, coordinating among different actors in the different regions. So there is a vast, you know, subject. But what I want to insist here is that why are things not happening? That is the main thing. In BBIN, until unless I think we come into a multimodal transport operations and amend it based on all the reasons, the Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, you know, we bring it into one line and, you know, all of them adapt to that. I think BBIN will not be possible. If you go in the piecemeal basis, like Nepal has one regulations, Bangladesh another one, I don't think we can make it. Issue of security which has come up here is not a very big issue, because what we see is that India doesn't have a problem when we don't give them any documents when the goods are coming from Visakhapatnam to come up to Nepal. So if the tracking system is working there, it can work elsewhere as well. So we need to have integrated tracking systems from end-to-end logistics. I think that will help. Why things are not happening, part of the issue has already come, the mindset issue has already come. We have a very, very weak negotiation capacity, both by the private sector as well as by the government. It is the private sector that will have to, you know, coordinate with the private sector in the different regions here within Bangladesh, Bhutan and Nepal, and push government with a given responsibility to each of them. And once that is done, it will, I think, make it happen. So that's it from my side at the moment. And the BBIN is a better option than going to BIMSTEC or anything, because it will give us some sort of a, you know, a pilot sort of a work for us to get the feel. And I think it is a very much doable thing. And then to stick into some roots and then, you know, talk about security in this age where automation and, you know, IT and AI is, you know, coming up so fast, you know, I think it'll be foolish in the part of any countries that are involved in the trade. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajanji. So maybe I'll go back to the panel. We have 10 minutes left. So there were a few questions. There was one on the slow pace of BBIN. This was a question for, I forgot who the question was for. There was one for Arif on the TIR. There was one question for Dr. Rahman, actually, right, Professor Rahman? And there was a question also for Dr. Day as well on efficiency, transparency by Poshji. And then the one point on multimodal transport, you know, of course, multimodal transport is very important for even BBIN to work well. So maybe then I'll invite Dr. Orial and Raviji as well. So maybe let's start with Professor Rahman.
Thank you, audience, for those questions. Very important. With regard to the WTO plus requirements in the context of trade facilitation, we cannot really contest it in the DSB, Dispute Settlement Body, because the WTO allows under its GATT Article 30 that countries can have higher standard. And that's where the SPS, TBT standards which European Union has, which are WTO plus, and we cannot contest that. So here also, I think that that we cannot contest it. If, for example, European Union has the CBAM requirement, CO2 emission requirement for market access, which they will be implementing from 2027. So I think the other point is that the brands and buyers are also having their own standards, okay, which are WTO plus. So they are also, it's up to the brands and buyers whether they will, you know, take goods from enterprises which are not complying with WTO plus requirements. So we will have to, in fact, adjust to the new requirements in the global trade, which are WTO plus, and that's where our own capacity building also comes in. I just also want to mention, because Sir mentioned about the BBIN MVA, which was signed in 2015, and the standard operating procedures have also been finalized. One problem, sir, you will remember, you see the bilateral trade is asymmetric. So if, for example, we import for $15-16 billion from India, trucks come from India, they will want to take goods from Bangladesh to India as well. We export only $2 billion. So they would also displace some of Bangladesh's transporters. Sir, you remember, sir, you suggested, and Dr. Rahmatullah also, to form joint venture transport companies in order to address this problem. So I think that some of these solutions will need to be explored, because there are also domestic transport lobbies which work against this, And the other weakness in the BVI and MVA is the cabotage. You see, you can bring the goods, for example, from India to Manila, but you cannot take back, you see. That's how the agreement stands. So this is also not, profitable for the transporters if they can't take back also the goods. So this is also one of the very practical problems. We will have to solve it. And the point about the BIMSTEC is very well taken. BIMSTEC is coming up with the BIMSTEC multimodal transport strategy, and there may be that, since we will be signing the BIMSTEC FTA, hopefully very soon, there will be a summit. So there may be, under the BIMSTEC umbrella, we can solve some of these problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rahman. Maybe I'll ask Arif to talk about the TIR, and then I'll come this way. Thank you.
To answer you, the country of origin must be, the first thing, it should be a TIR signatory country. And let me tell you that TIR is also a multimodal transportation. So if somebody is sending TIR shipment, they can send it in a vessel, and then it can be loaded on the truck as well. Thank you. Sorry? Security? Security of the goods and security of the container. Yeah, there is insurance policy. It can be insured.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. In BBIN protocol, if you go through that, we are even in the BBIN whole negotiation, countries are negotiating only in the motor vehicle agreement. So still they have not discussed about a multimodality over there. That is the main things. Maybe some other initiation is also going on, just like railway also. Later on, if the motor vehicle agreement went well, then railway issue will also be accommodated over there. Even the inland waterways issue will be there. So I think at that time, definitely we can discuss on the multimodality in the BBIN also. But I want to highlight one thing over here. If you go through the transit treaty between India and Nepal, in the new transit treaty, it has been clearly, India has offered us, in Nepal, to utilize inland waterways of India. And they have provided to use the three port of inland waterways port in India. In that protocol, it has been clearly mentioned about the multimodality. So if we could, utilize that in an efficient way, that can be model for later on we can translate in the BBIN vehicle motor issue also. So that will be, I think, even if you go through the protocol with the China, transit protocol between the India and China, it has been tried to manage the multimodality in an efficient way. In the protocol, it has been mentioned that all these issues will be carried out by one of the committee over there under the chairmanship of, two Commerce Secretary. There is one mechanism. They can solve it in either way. That is the mention, that provision was there. We can have that kind of things over there also. There is also mechanism in the BBIN vehicle agreement also. That kind of mechanism is also there. So we can, BBIN can provide all authority to that committee, then they can solve it. I think so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before I go to you, maybe I give a couple of minutes to Berkindaji here, follow up on that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. As Rabi said, I mean, this multimodality can be added in the MBA too, and BBIN, if we can add up, and then we can scale it up and then bring it to the regional trade and so. I just have a couple of, the issues over here, just take 2 minutes maximum. Professor Rahman, when you talked about, we are not moving ahead, but we have moved ahead a bit. Of course, it's not in the, at that par that we wanted and so. For me, for last so many years, if the trade facilitation has moved ahead by 1 inch, and if our efforts can move, it by 5 inches, that would be a great success. And so sometimes you have to have, they are kind of build up on the status quo things to some type of moving and so. For me, the CTS, that's what we talked about. It's still in the railway only, and if it can be implemented in the truck vehicles also, and that would be a great leap for us. When the seamless trade happens by trucks and so, because the trade, this volume is bit high in the truck vehicles too. So that is one part. And for the, the overall trade facilitation and overall, the trade integration in the region, a couple of issues that can be dealt with, I believe. The one is the BBI and MBA. Let's start with passengers vehicle. And we can, complete the negotiation as Dr. Day said, the renegotiation and renegotiation so many times, instead of doing so, complete the negotiation and start with that one, and then scale it up to multimodality. That can help a lot. And the systems that, as a professor in the panel also mentioned about the interoperable systems, and when we have this single windows in 4 countries, and then if we can make it interoperable, that would be a great leap. Then seamless trade can happen. And I still favor this mutual recognition agreement. The government should, the governments in the region should also, they need to look at it, because as we were talking about the accreditation, as we were talking about the degrees, diplomas and everything, and once, it is recognized by other countries, and that would be a great success. And whatever agreements that we have already signed, whatever treaties that we have already signed, if we, they stick on them, and then they stick with the honest implementation, that would be that would help a lot. And efficiency, that Dr. Post also mentioned about the efficiency in the system, not only with the government, not only with the public sector, but also with the private sector, and in the the broad management. That is key. And capacity, that's what I was raising from the beginning here. Capacity of not only the public sector, but private sector is also over there. As I mentioned, the single window is there, but private sector's capacity to utilize it and then to get benefited is still lacking over there. Maybe this is part of the government's side weakness also. My part also was there probably, because we didn't capacitate them. We just, they imposed the things. So, the trade doesn't happen if we impose the things, but if we capacitate all the trade patterns and all the stakeholders and the actors over there. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Berkindaji. Over to you, Doctor.
Yeah, quickly, to answer to Purushottamji's, the questions is very quickly, that whatever we have done so far within our national, but cross-border part is really a bit challenging and missing. It is really a fact. And it took almost about 20 years, if I may be wrong, people in the audience may correct, that import from third country through Calcutta and Haldia port for the Nepal, how long it took time to make it a seamless through. It is now, but it took 20 years, getting into a CTD, acknowledgement, etc., whole story. So when we try to bring the cross-border part of the trade facilitation, our performance according to the UN trade facilitation database, 2023 survey indicates only 53%. An average all South Asian, South and Southwest Asian countries. We haven't done, but this is something we need to do. So quickly, if the countries they hooked into a common transit system, it's a kind of a common customs, then interventions at the border will be less and less. I think this is doable. That's what using the technology. We can go on, and discuss. Second point to answer to Professor Pandey's questions, on the transparency. Well, India's customs, and like many others, that it's a big issue for the corruption, and we know it very well. I don't need to go in detail. Many of the PhD holders from India's Jawaharlal Nehru University did study on corruption in Indian customs, and they're doing a lot of international consultancy at the rate of ADB international consultancy rate, So if going by them, and if I look at the literature, what India has did, first is introducing the customs single window. It has reduced the corruption, all the regulators and the people who are sitting there from a very high level to a low level. That brings lots of transparency. Second is availability of information, different documents, which are uploaded and on the notification WTO, also through our internal systems, very real-time basis, and in multiple languages within us. I'm talking about. This has also, helped in terms of reaching out to the importer, exporter through custom house agents and freight forwarder, etc. And the process has been digitalized. It is every day. There are apps of different. We get the message in the mobile phone that this notification is issued by Nepal Customs. Just look at it, the way one would like to be. And quickly, CIVIC, DGFT, FIO, and many other agencies, they have gone almost 100% in the digital forms. The green sustainable part. That everything, their notifications are also introduced on real-time basis through digital mode. No paper on that. India has introduced the Turant custom. Turant, Hindi word, it tells very quickly first. So these are all one small thing plus RFID based, which our friend from Pakistan and Mr. Chair, he said the ECTS and several other systems are all actually helped to reduce improving our transparency. This should be a short, but this is really an interesting study proposal for the young budding scholar in Swati and the South Asia regions, what we have done, in the trade facilitation fund. And, well, one I would like to add here, and then it is that India, in 6 ICPs, they are introducing full body scanner, so that any import from Bangladesh, we don't need to physically tamper. The Volvo scanner, it will scan the truck or a container load, and it will be a through kind of thing. That's what India is doing. But now, as I said in the beginning of that, if you are doing in the trade, if you are nationalist, it won't serve the purpose. So we have to help others to do the things, or use the Indian system as a joint facility for others to also to follow. Kind of a mutual recognitions kind of things. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think we have come to the end of our session. I'm not going to summarize what was said, but just a few key ideas and thoughts that I heard. Of course, I think many thanks to Professor Shovan Rahman for getting us to speak more honestly and clearly about the progress we have made or not made in the last 20 years, and then what we can do going forward, right? Some things I heard was on use of technology. Technology adoption is critical. Interoperability of different systems, also very critical. Capacity came a few times, and capacity is an issue for many of our countries. Similarly, the treaties and agreements that we have signed, putting that into force, into implementation, not just making speeches and signing papers, but also implementing them. That's also critical. And we heard some lessons from Pakistan in terms of, being able to drive trucks from Pakistan all the way to Turkey. I think we would love to see that happen in our part of the world. So let's hope next time when we meet and talk about trade facilitation, we can actually talk about green and green trade facilitation, because today we talked mostly about trade facilitation. So I hope we'll have some good news to share next time when we meet. With that, let's give our panelists a big round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you, distinguished moderator, esteemed panelists, and all participants for the wonderful discussion. It's a tea break. We have a tea outside hall. After tea break, we have a closing ceremony in this hall. Thank you.